Și în continuare o invit pe excelența sa, doamna Therese Hyden, ambasador extraordinar și plenipotențiar al Suediei în România, pentru a ne transmite mesajul domniei sale.
Start by saying that I am very happy to be back speaking at this conference. When I participated in the Bucharest summit in May, I touched upon 3 topics. I talked about the COVID challenge, I talked about the climate challenge, and I talked about the inclusion challenge. And here we are 6 months on, 6 months later in the year, and these challenges, these topics are of course still very relevant here in Romania and in other parts of the world, including in my country, Sweden. We're today at the beginning of a very important climate meeting, the COP26 meeting, where our leaders, the leaders of the world, the leaders of Romania, of Sweden are meeting, and where they would have the possibility and the duty, I would say, to revise the climate commitments and see what measures further we can adopt in order to ensure that we have a planet that is livable for our continued generations, for our children. And I think the topics of this conference, Building the Post-Pandemic World, will help us to focus on measures that are needed to build a more resilient societies, a better world for everyone. And I'm convinced that Romania wants to be and will be part of this effort. Romania wants to be part of the solutions to these issues. And I'm convinced that Romania wants to build a more resilient and stronger society, and a country for all of its people, and a country for everyone to be very proud of. And Romania also has economic means to do so, not least with the additional EU recovery funds. And congratulations to Romania for having had its PNRR, the National Reconciliation Plan, adopted last week. But next to these opportunities for Romania, of course, we do have some life or death issues that I would like to consider as we move forward. So, in the first instance, firstly, I'd like to mention that the pandemic needs to be overcome, and for once, there is actually a silver bullet that can help us with overcoming the pandemic here and in all countries in the world, and it is the vaccine. So I would encourage everyone to get vaccinated. We do see devastating effects also here in Romania, devastating effects of the COVID-19 on people, on families, and on the healthcare system. And we do see people that are dying from this disease when they could have survived if they had been vaccinated. I've taken the vaccination for myself, but also out of solidarity and compassion, not to make other people sick, not to spread the disease further. And I believe there could be more solidarity amongst us, each other, and for everyone, including in the healthcare system, so that we can deal better with the pandemic. Secondly, as we move forward, also here in Romania, the upcoming investments in infrastructure that we will see here in Romania in schools, in roads, in utilities, these investments must also include the poorest people and the poorest areas, regions in Romania. For Romania as a whole to develop, to prosper, there must be equal access to healthcare, there must be equal access to schools and to basic things like electricity and clean water. And Romania has a lot of cities, including Bucharest, where which are well above the average income per capita. There are many cities that thrive thanks to good use of EU funds, good use of innovations and measures that have indeed improved the quality of life for its people. But there are also many poor and disadvantaged areas still in Romania, and the pandemic has in fact led to an increase of poverty in Romania. Families and areas that were marginalized before are facing even more difficult conditions today, and also more people. This means, of course, that there is more children in poverty, and with more people in poverty and with lack of education, in combination with the fact that many people are leaving the country, trying to find jobs or a life abroad, it will, along the line, mean that there will not be enough people. It will be difficult here in Romania, increasingly difficult, to find people that can perform all of the different types of jobs that needs to be performed in Romania. So I believe this is a country that can no longer afford not having everyone in its population included in the workforce. I'm referring to women. I'm referring to disadvantaged group, including Roma. I'm referring to disabled people. There needs to be more people given opportunities to work and to have equal access to opportunities in Romania. And the unequal distribution of services and education, healthcare, will grow, and for some, this is indeed a real life or death issue. I believe that if you want to improve the country as a whole, you also need to improve the services and the situation for the poorest ones. My third and final topic that I want to raise here today on the topic of life or death issues is about violence against women. Such violence occurs, unfortunately, in all countries, including in my own country, Sweden, but it's something that should not be tolerated anywhere in the world. Here in Romania, up until today, this year, 33 women have been killed by their partners. So 33 women only in this year. And altogether, I believe 426 women and girls have been killed by a family member over the last 8 years. And another comparison is, for instance, that there are 16 times more women and girls having been killed in Romania than Romanian soldiers having been killed in the war in Afghanistan, where Romania participated over the last 19 years. So these are some comparison of what is happening. And unfortunately, violence against women and girls have increased during the pandemic. This is a reflection of persisting inequalities in a society and prejudices against women. But the good thing is that violence against women is increasingly recognized and talked about here in Romania. And this is a very important step. I'd like to say that violence against women is not a women's problem, but it is an issue of the behavior of men. And a society where men are not stopped from beating or killing women is not a good version of a society, and it's not a society that will grow. And hopefully more government efforts and more civil society efforts can together change attitudes and behavior around violence against women here in Romania and in other places in the world. Thank you very much for listening to me.